So speaking of movies that are terrible, next up we have a British found footage movie called Wolfwood, which came out apparently in January last year in 2020. So pretty much this one woman and this one guy comes to her house with his friends, and I'm not entirely sure why, because the woman wants nothing to do with him. I guess he wants to say, hey, what's up? So the woman ignores him, and then it's like, oh, hey, you missed your bus, so I'll take you then. You know, this woman doesn't know the France, so it's like really awkward drive. Like, oh, hey, because nobody's talking, and this one guy's like a film student, so of course he's filming everything, because that's not awkward. Um, and this like conversation, I guess, and stuff happens, I guess. Then they finally get there, and then there's a camera moving, being shaken because it's walking in the woods, and yes, and then I guess whales and aliens, and um, so it's interesting to me because I didn't know a movie that was so simple in idea. Just a found footage movie that you can make for like probably 100 $150. I had no idea a movie like that could be so convoluted. Because I'll be honest, this movie confused me. I'm not sure if the waves were the aliens or if they're just. I really don't. I was like, there's an explanation at the end that goes on for like 55 minutes. It's probably only like 8 minutes, but it feels like it takes for fucking ever. Um, and I'll be honest, I was like, after the first like 2 minutes, I like phased out. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Like she's talking about like a 28 years culture and like a 11 years culture, and I have no idea what that has to do with anything. I'm so confused. And I was just confused. And I didn't think a movie like this could confuse me, and unfortunately, that's not a good thing in this case. So this was a somewhat unenjoyable time for me. But before I get more into that, what did you think about this one?
It's one of the lamest fucking movies I've ever fucking seen. This is the movie that I referenced on the forums, the shit movie that I just watched.
Yeah, it's understandable.
It's 2020 and they're still making these terrible found footage movies. Like, found footage is a genre that, there's a place for it. There's a way to do them well. So I'm not ripping on the genre like itself, but in 2020, it's gotten to a point where people are just seeing it as an opportunity to make a movie that doesn't cost anything. We know it's like the simplest movie to make, but it's also one of the most difficult movies to master.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of saying it. I mean, these types of movies are everywhere online. You can't fart without sniffing one on Tubi. I mean, I could find a million of these just at the click of my fingers. And this one, like I said, terrible writing because you have no fucking idea of what's going on in this movie. Is it werewolves? Is it aliens? And then there's all this other stuff. I don't know. I was just, for the most part, I was bored out of my mind as well because it's just them walking around doing stuff and or just having these conversations, dialogue that I have no interest in. I mean, this is worse than If a Tree Falls, which we discussed not too long ago, which also made me question Dawn of the Dead. Was I too hard on Dawn of the Dead? And this movie, I think, solidifies that. Because this is the type of movie I should have been reserving my 1 stars for. This is, yeah, I retract my Dawn of the Dead rating. I'm giving that a 2. This one is a definite 1. This one sucks ass.
First official retraction. So well done. um, yeah. So there's a few things I found amusing about this movie. I guess that was an interesting preface because this first thing isn't amusing. So this movie isn't just simply some guy with a camera. Um, at the beginning of the movie, I guess the main woman had cameras up around her house because we get random footage from like different rooms of them talking and not just the camera. And then you get to see some highway footage of the car driving by for some reason. And then you get to see not just the guy's camera but this woman's cell phone and all these different points of view. And it's unfortunate because none of it. One, it makes it somewhat disorienting. Two, it's just annoying as fuck. I don't know why they would do that. It doesn't really add anything, because I guess, yeah, you get a different point of view, but when you don't get any more like detail about what's actually going on, and we'd have no idea what's going on until like 40 minutes into the movie, and that's only because we happen to see a spaceship, or what looks like to be a spaceship, fly by. That's the first time in the movie I'm like, oh hey, this is sort of interesting, and then you see how that goes. Yeah, so I also think it's funny. The woman who was not the main character, I think, she was played by an actress named Mandy Rose. She had a line in there how she was like training to be a nurse or something like that, which is fine. But I think it's funny that even though she was training to be a nurse, she had like no sympathy for people who were like cutting themselves and any type of self harm type thing. Like, it's obvious that woman was somewhat mentally not necessarily stable, and she just gets all pissed out when it's like the guy's fault. Um, so I don't know, it's just annoying characters, and you're pretty much clueless as to what's going on, and even when like this, this like digital hat pops up at the end, like "Come here, child," like you just don't care.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm so confused. I don't know. I think like the aliens were like had control of the werewolves for some reason, but I don't know. And honestly, I just don't care. It was a disappointing movie. In my opinion, the only really interesting thing about it is the fact that it was British, which is, I get to hear some British accent, so that's almost fun. But this was, I mean, like you said, this is a special type of terrible movie.
Yeah. I was looking for something positive to say about this movie, or something that they did, well, maybe not terribly. One thing I will say, I don't think the acting was all that bad, but the funny thing about that is, I think that actually makes the movie even less enjoyable. Because at least if the acting is shit, you can laugh at the acting.
Yeah.
But you can't laugh at this acting. It's just, it's below average acting in a terrible movie.
I guess another, no, this is a small thing, but it did annoy me. So, like, the main character was described as having OCD tendencies, and I didn't see it. Like, I don't know what they were talking about. Like, it's like it came out of nowhere. She was quiet, but OCD, it didn't really seem that way to me. So it just, I don't know, it's just random. It had no relevance, and like I said, I think the biggest problem is the explanation at the end, and the whole like 28-year and 11-year cycles. I had no idea what she was talking about, and I'm not sure if the other guy's following along either. That's probably why he just wanted to die. He wanted to be over with it, and I can't blame him. So even I don't know. I guess the werewolves were like, if that's what they were okay, but they pop up for like 2 seconds and that's it, and it's just not worth it. I guess the one positive thing I could say about this movie is I did sort of like seeing the British wards. It's a cool idea, but it just god awful.
Hmm. I also noticed that, or at least when a few people got attacked all around the same time, they would always like drop their camera at like the perfect angle
Yeah.
to watch them getting attacked. I mean, it just,
You've got to love found footage.
yeah. And it also makes you question, like, okay, I understand maybe one of them might have been holding a camera, like, so like everyone's holding a camera and dropping it, like, I don't know. It's just like, especially one of the women. Like, I was thinking, she's scared out of her mind. Why would she be like filming? I don't know. I didn't buy any of the shit they were selling.
Yeah, and just it's confusing, it's annoying, and it's just not worth it.
The IMDb rating, which is currently a, what is it, 4.3, but it's only 25 people who've rated it, so I'm pretty sure some of those high scores are from people involved with making this movie. I mean, who the fuck in their right mind is going to give that movie a 10 out of 10, or even a 9 or an 8 out of 10?
Well, apparently about 7 people.
Yeah, but the majority of people who have rated this have given it either a 1 or a 2. So, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw this one. This is a thoroughly unenjoyable time. And like, it's funny because I'm not a big fan of a lot of the movies you talk about tonight. And this last movie when you talk about, I also hated. Um, but this movie, I really had a problem with. I disliked it, and I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10, if only because I thought there was some potential in the story had it actually been written with any type of decency, and the idea of something happening in the woods in the UK. Hey, that's almost okay. So I mean, a 2 out of 10. It doesn't matter which way you color it. It's still in the Beersmore rating, but that's the best I can do for Wolfwood.
Hmm. So as I said before, it gets my lowest rating, which is a 1 out of 10. I think they had, like I said, the acting is not completely terrible. I even think they're capable of at least filming something worth watching. Like, it's not like they don't know how to hold a camera. But yeah, it's one of the lamest films I've seen. It's a found footage film, like I said, one of the easiest films you can make, hardest films to master. And the way this movie was written, I assume it was written, maybe it was written on a napkin somewhere, and they just made the movie based on that. But none of the dialogue drew me into any of the scenes or characters, and it's a type of movie that if you just made it with some of your friends for a bit of a laugh or something, or you could look at it and say, look at what we did, and you could be happy with that. But if you're putting this up against professionally made movies, it's just gonna look like shit. So yeah, 1 out of 10. That's a rating.
Indeed, it's yes.